You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
And welcome, everybody. Sorry about the delay. I'm Aggie. Welcome to A Pod Divided. And with me, as usual, is my wonderful host, Brad. How are you, Brad?
Are we on now? Are we on the other? Yeah. I'm reclaiming my time. Thank you. I'm reclaiming my time. What the hell? How is everything tonight? How's it going?
I guess it's fine now. We had 20 minutes of interlude, so that was nice.
Indeed, yes. I had to give everybody a palate cleanser, I suppose. If anybody's left listening, we're still here. So, yeah, we've got a lot going on. I've managed to do a lot of imbibing in the 20 minutes of dead air, so we'll see how long I last in this particular episode.
I know, my drink is like half done. I'm like, dang it.
And what are you imbibing over there? What do you have for a potable of the evening?
Made myself a pina colada, a hateful pina colada. I used cocoa from Goya, so that's a hateful pina colada.
Yes, you have a pina colada of hate, apparently. Wow, how intolerant of you. And I'm jealous at the same time.
I am so intolerant that I drove 10 miles out of my way to buy this stuff just out of spite.
Well, really?
Yes, I did.
You have a political colada. All right.
Yes, it's a political colada. That's awesome. Political colada. That's what I'm going to call it from now on.
Well done. Well done. I'm impressed. I just have my usual going on here. I got a new beer, actually, I found. Just came in from Cigar City on the west coast of Florida. I'm drinking a Florida Man tonight.
Do you have any idea how weird that sounds?
Yeah.
Phrasing. Do we not do phrasing anymore?
Yeah. I'm self-imbibing, I guess you could say. Sorry for the visual, folks, but yeah, that just.
What is it? Is that a local or?
Somewhat. It's out of the Tampa area, the Cigar City Brewing Company. It's a double IPA. I'm not really too fond of the IPAs, but this one's pretty drinkable. It's got the nice piney bite to it, and it's not too bad. But
okay, so pretend you don't have to pretend here, but just pretend that I don't know anything about IPA. What does that mean? A double IPA? What makes it double?
Well, I mean, IPA is India Pale Ale. This is a style of beer that is severely overrated, I'm going to say, because the reason it got its name is this is the kind of beer they would make to travel to India back in the shipping days from England. So what they would do is throw in a crap ton of hops just to preserve the beer for the trip. So the hops is really a preservative, not an ingredient necessarily. So I don't know, about 15, 20 years or so ago, when craft brewing started to get a foothold here, the IPA started to become a style that people wanted to start making. So a double IPA basically means they use double the hops, which means it's twice as bitter. It's got that really sharp, piney flavor to it, and depending on how you mix up with the other ingredients, if you bring in a little bit of citrus, I think it's a little bit more potable. But honestly, I think it's a played out style of beer.
Okay.
Controversial as that is for me to say, a lot of people get upset about it, but frankly,
people have opinions about beer.
I know. It's just, I can drink like 10 different labels of an IPA. There's very little nuance between them. Oh, this one uses Shiraz hops. This one uses a different unpronounceable hops. It's like, yeah, it still tastes like Pine Sol. But okay.
Interesting. I did not know that there was such a thing as a double IPA. That blows my mind in a way, because that just kind of makes it even less palatable for me. But I tend to like darker beers like Schwarzbier and Dunkels and, stouts. So
yeah, that's generally my realm preferred. I like to go with the darker, heartier, heavier beers. Milk stouts I absolutely love. Give me a good chewy milk stout at about 8%, and you can leave me alone the rest of the night. And you'll probably want to as a result.
Well, okay then. Duly noted.
Yeah. Uh-oh, he cracked the double there. We'll just go back and watch movie in the back bedroom now.
Yeah, I was like, I was telling you about the whole having guests last week and everything, making margaritas and stuff like that. And I tried to make mine not as a lot lighter in the tequila than most people's, because tequila really does go to my head rather quickly. So unfortunately, I gave my glass to someone else and took their glass instead. Oh boy, I was feeling it. I was like, this is not good. I purposely stayed up till 2:00 to make sure that I would not wake up sick.
Wow, look at you.
I know.
Partying like you're back in college.
No, I never partied like that in college.
Wait, what?
I'm serious. I led a very boring life, Brad. In college, I never partied. My highlights in college involved the Baskin Robbins and the Deluxe Burger Bar, which had great burgers and is no longer there. That just breaks my heart. Wow. That was it. Oh, but we went to the Dixie Chicken, but I was underage, so I couldn't drink. And by the time I turned 21, I was a senior, and I was really not interested. I have yet to go and dunk my ring in a pitcher of beer, my college ring, which is a rite of passage. It's a tradition at Texas A&M. Every senior goes, buys a pitcher of beer, dunks his or her graduation ring in it, and then proceeds to drink the entire pitcher. I've yet to do that. I graduated 30 years ago.
Why haven't you done that is the question, I suppose.
I guess I'm just like lazy. Basically. As a matter of fact, but it's funny because on Twitter, I think it was last year or the year before, the Dixie Chicken invited me to come down and they would give me a free picture just so that I could do this. So I have to take them up on it.
Girl, and you haven't? Jeez.
I'm sorry. I have priorities. I'm painting rocks.
You just said that on the air, too. I'm going to have to come out there to Texas and just straighten you out. Wow.
I know. I'm just not.
They're giving you a free
don't know how to
pitcher of
live
beer.
correctly. I don't know how to live correctly. I live wrong.
All right. Well, I'll see what I can do to steer you in the wrong direction because, my highlight college memories involves the Secret Service, and I can't go any further because of the gag order. So.
Anybody else saying that, I would just. But you? No, I believe it. I totally believe it.
I've said too much. But speaking of college, hey, how about that for a segue into our topics of the evening here on KLRN, your evening zoo.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any college football this year, apparently. At least they're aiming for that.
Big zero.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, the West Atlantic Conference, the WAC, had said that they were going to suspend their season, and the overwhelming reaction across the country were shrugs. Oh, the WAC's not playing. Cool, okay.
Wow.
But things got ramped up recently where the Big Ten joined in and said they, too, are going to make the decision not to play any of their games. And this is pretty significant as it involves Ohio State, Michigan. Some pretty major schools now are going to be completely off the docket.
Wow. That's just, I don't know how this is going to play out. No pun intended. I really don't, because this to me, it sounds so disjointed. If you don't include some of the, powerhouses, who comes in to fill those holes, the vacuum caused by that.
Speaking of phrasing, yeah, I don't know how they're going to replace some of these bigger schedule gaps. I mean, there was, not only is it going to be games not played, but I mean, you're talking about some significant rivalries that won't be taking place and interconference play that usually draws a crap ton of people. I mean, Ohio State and Michigan alone, don't they draw something like $100,000 per game? Gone. Off the table.
Wow.
That's massive. And I get to see why it's necessary, to be honest. I mean, I understand with football, the players have a little bit of nervousness, especially the linemen. And, this went on with the NFL, covered that when 66, 67 players bowed out, and half of them were linemen because of that, physical contact with every single play. But there hasn't been like a widespread outbreak that I've seen in the news, has there?
No, not that I've seen, no. I'm just trying to picture this because, all I kept thinking about is is there even going to be a national championship this year? And if so, is it going to be Division IV? I mean, I don't know.
There we go. The national football champion is Bemidji State.
Yeah.
What are these obscure colleges you only see during March Madness?
Yeah, Tarleton State University versus Alcorn State. Okay, this one's gonna be good.
It's like, I mean, I generally hate basketball to begin with, but pretty much this whole episode is Brad just, putting out his unpopular opinions, huh? I hate IPA. I hate basketball. I hate puppies. Screw those damn animals. Yeah, March Madness, it just never made sense to me because
I don't particularly care by the bracket thing makes no sense to me. And I'm not a mathematically inclined person, but to me it just seems so wacky. So I never liked it. And I really don't. I like professional basketball and college football, and I don't care for professional football or college basketball. So I'm the complete opposite of my sister. So we always get into yelling matches if I'm over there and there's a game on. Because if it's pro basketball, she's not interested, but I am. So we get into a fight about that. And if it's pro football, I'm not interested and she is. And we get into a fight about that. So we fight all the time over the sport thing. But to me, it just, the bracket thing never actually made any sense to me.
Well, I would always have my fun because when back in the days when I had an office job, so many in the office would go through that March Madness thing, and eventually somebody would come bouncing up to me. And the first question is always, "Hey, Brad, who do you pick in your bracket?" And I was like, "Basketball. I don't watch basketball." And they look at me and they're like, "Dude, you're 6'4", you're 6'5". How tall are you? You got it. Like, that's a rule. If you're really tall, you have to like basketball. That
has always been so annoying to me.
That's profiling, which is wrong.
Yes, it is totally wrong. It is so wrong.
But finally, what I started doing was really screwing. I would screw with their heads because I'm a huge hockey fan, so I also watch college hockey. Well, they have the Frozen Four, as they call it, and it's not as expansive as March Madness. They usually have 16 teams qualify in their brackets, and you're probably looking at maybe 30 to 40 colleges that are in the mix every single year. I mean, generally it can go as high as 60. I think they have 60 colleges that participate in college, somewhere around that. But I mean, generally, your top 40 are about the same. So I would always look at who's in the mix for the Frozen Four, and I would like to throw those colleges at them that they've never heard of before, that are, kind of perennial powers in the hockey college universe, but they've never heard of. It's like, oh yeah, I'm looking at Boston University and Rochester Institute to be in the final. And they look at me blankly like, huh? What? It's like, yeah, Frozen Four. It's like, you're talking about, I was talking about basketball. It's like, oh, were you? I'm sorry, I watch men's sports. And that would just, either drive them away or crack them up or something, but basketball, doesn't usually do it for me.
Well, I used to like it. I remember when the ABA was still around. So for me, that was like a big deal because their basketballs were prettier, red, white, and blue. So it was. I always enjoyed it a lot better. But then the NBA just was very harsh, and only four ABA teams survived, and one of them was what became the Spurs. So they have a long history here, and so every so often you'll have one of the Spurs out here, and they're talking about it, and they'll actually have one of the ABA balls, and they'll sign them.
Oh, and really?
And it's really funny because very, very few people know the significance of that red, white, and blue ball. They think it's just a patriotic ball. They don't remember, or they weren't around when the ABA was around. So,
I remember the ABA actually had some traction for a while.
It did. It did not make the NBA happy.
No.
But back in the glory days, back in the 70s and 80s, when you had Michael Jordan, basketball was fun. It really was fun, even up until the mid 90s. And then it just started falling off. I don't know what happened, but I don't know. It just it became too commercialized, I think.
Yeah, and actually around that time, interesting little factoid, hockey-wise, they actually had the International Hockey League going on as well as a quasi-competitor. There were actually some NHL stars that jumped. Bobby Hull was probably the bigger name that did so at the time, but there were, for a time they were trying to challenge the NHL as well. And there was a small team called the Indianapolis Racers.
Oh, yeah.
Existence. They had this little scrawny mook from the Canuck region of Canada called Wayne Gretzky playing for him for a couple seasons before the league dissolved and he got transferred over to Edmonton, and history was made, as they say.
I was so so aggrieved when he married that chick from American Anthem. Let me tell you, I was mad. I was mad. And I don't even remember her name. I just remember that she was in that gymnastics movie, American Anthem, and she was a blonde and her hair looked like straw. That's all I remember. And when
American
he married
Anthem.
her, I was heartbroken.
Because that's when they tried to take the dream team of the. God, I love this movie because it sucks so bad. The dream gymnastics team from the Olympics.
It was supposed to, as I recall, it was supposed to like transition Mitch Gaylord into acting because his.
Of course it was.
Starting to wane off, right? And he did some B, C, D, X movies, I guess. I don't know.
He was really good on those B-roll scenes where
Thank you, Brad. Janet Jones, that was her name. Yes, and I hated
Janet
that
Jones.
Let me tell you.
But Mitch Gaylord did best when they would take the light, they'd take the spotlight about 30 feet away from the camera, aim it at the camera so he was in silhouette, so you couldn't see facial reactions. They would play music over. He didn't have to act. Thank you. There you go. That's the.
Yeah, he was definitely no actor, but I think Michelle Williams was his mother in that movie, and she's just stunningly beautiful. So that was okay.
I think Janet Jones was more known for her Playboy spread than anything else. But if you want a really significant gymnastics movie, you have to go to Gymkata.
Oh yes. That was the definitive.
That makes American Anthem look like a garbage MTV music video from the 1980s, which ironically enough it was. But this is not Disasters in the Making. We're not talking about bad movies tonight.
Moving on, back to the sports.
Yeah.
Which, some big news came out of the pro sports. I'm sorry, I am drinking pro sports this week. So.
Yeah, your hate colada is starting to affect your professionalism.
Well, you know what? This is not tequila. This is rum, so it was a little more than intended.
Oops, slipped. Yeah, over in Washington, where they used to have a football. Well, they do have a football team, but that's actually
generic
what it's called now.
Team.
That is what it's called. The Washington football team is what they are this season.
Honest to God, I swear, I was like, I was watching the Replacements the other night, and I said that should be their name, the Sentinels. And then I started thinking, no, it should be the Washington Replacements. That's what.
I would love all of that. Honestly, I think the funniest thing they could possibly do is to just go with all white uniforms, sparse black lettering, like a W on the helmet, WASH period on, just be as generic as possible.
Yeah, the generic football team. Yes, they should.
I mean, back in the 70s, I used to have a beer can. I had a beer can collection in the 70s, and I think I had over a dozen different generic beer cans that just had beer on it.
I bet you anything at home, I still have the white one with the black lettering that just said beer from the local grocery store.
I literally, I had so many of those. Actually, and Orty would know this for sure, too. When I worked at Budweiser, anytime they were putting out a brand new beer, they were coming up with a new style or a new flavor of something or other, and they would send out cases to the distributors, and it would just say, test a beer on it. And it would have like something on the bottom. It might say IPA or some hint as to what type it is. But we were supposed to sample it and then maybe pass it out to a couple customers to see if they liked it, that sort of thing. I used to have a collection of those bottles too, and it was probably 20 times they would not hit the market and one of them would land. So it's like Shock Top, for instance, was one of them that did hit.
That's kind of funny because my dad used to, he worked for a medical supply company. So whenever they made prototypes, he used to take these prototypes for anything from kidney dialysis machines to filters to, whatever. And he would either go to New Jersey, which was the hub for stateside, or Ireland, which was the hub of all places for Europe. And I remember he brought back some prototypes from Ireland, and these things looked like sculptures. And for the longest time, he had them out as sculptures, and people thought, that is so beautiful. Who did that? Who was the artist? That was like the fucking dialysis machine. And that kind of reminds me of the, the whole test thing. Sometimes they were like really cool, bottles and stuff like that. Because I remember seeing those in Germany too, when they were just decanting the new wines to be tested and everything. And sometimes the bottles were actually very pretty. So.
Huh. Interesting stuff. I wasn't aware they were that artistic in that field. How amazing.
It would blow me away because they used this was back when they were still using lucite as one of the plastics. So it was thicker and it was molded, and it looked like a sculpture. It was really cool with all the little fibers on the inside, all twisted and looking pretty. And he just used to fool people with that shit all the time.
How culturally significant. I enjoy that. Well, I know we were talking about bad movies for a second, but I was actually involved in something.
Finished with Washington.
Oh, that's true. We got to finish it up here. I'm glad you're sober enough to keep us between the guardrails there. Yeah, how about those that Washington football team? What are they doing? What's going on over there, by the way?
Right. Yeah, they got a new president. And his name's Jason Wright, who used to be a pro football player. He played, I believe, for the Cardinals and the 49ers, retired, and then went and got his MBA, and was just now chosen to be the president of the Washington franchise, which is kind of awesome and everything. I just think they're trying to overdo. In my opinion, they're trying to overdo. He's very much into the whole Black Lives Matter diversity thing, So it's that's going to be kind of his job.
Well, it sounds like you're trying to be polite here, so I'll just come out and say it. Pandering. I think that's the word you're looking for.
Okay, pandering. Yes, and I don't want to take away from him because he obviously has done very well in his career outside of football. So, sure. Give him kudos for that. But, this franchise is just riddled with so many problems at the moment. I mean, you had that whole, the rumors coming out about sexual assault and all this stuff that was floating around in the whole franchise. Dan Snyder has been pressured for years to sell the franchise itself. He's being pressured by the minority owners, but he's basically telling them to fuck off. He's not going to do that. And then,
well, he's been saying that for years as far as the team name. So for him to fuck, that's kind of a surprise.
And and then there's the whole case with what's his name, Darius Guice, I think his last name is Guice. I don't know how to pronounce that. And even if I were sober, I still wouldn't know how to pronounce that. So let's just go with Guice. He just got busted for reckless driving. I think he was doing a 95 on a 55. And that was just in June. And then that comes on top of him being arrested. 1 count of strangulation, 3 counts of assault and battery, 1 count of destruction of property. And that was just with his girlfriend. So
well done.
And this guy actually had, he came out of LSU. He had a very promising career. Unfortunately, he had some issues with injuries on the field and everything. But I mean, he's now a free agent, and now everybody's on hold waiting to find out what's going to happen, if he's going to jail, how it's going to be resolved before they even think about signing him on. So it's
I just love the new vetting process every team has to go through now, where he can run a 100-yard dash in 4.86, but have you gone through his social media yet?
Mm-hmm. This is why I loved that movie, The Replacements, because Gene Hackman's character, the coach, went through and picked them based on their strengths and their abilities, regardless of if they were playing or not.
Oh my gosh! You mean they applied an egalitarian standard to the team?
Yes. That was just great. So I love that movie. Can you tell?
Seems it. Just say it. Keanu was in it. Just get it out of your system.
But not just him, because I love Gene Hackman, and I mean just everybody. I mean that was in it. It was really fun. So it was a funny movie.
But hey, speaking of movies,
mm-hmm.
I was speaking with a celebrity this week.
Okay, go on. That was me squealing.
Boys, wow. I've seen you type that out before. I've never actually heard it. So, wow. Okay.
Yes, I do. And actually, friend of the chat right there, Expert has actually, we've met in person. He's actually been a guest here. But he has heard me squeal, and he thinks it's the funniest thing ever.
I'm glad now I have a Foley track.
I did. So.
Wonderful. Well, got to speak to Russell Crowe this week because I was able to clear my schedule and make time for the man. But he's actually got a movie coming out, believe it or not, coming to theaters this weekend. They're actually opening up theaters nationwide, or at least on a gradual basis. AMC Theaters is pledged to open 100 locations. I haven't gotten the firm numbers from a couple other of the chains, but when I was speaking with the producer, he actually said they're going to be in 2,000 screens this coming Friday. Believe it or not.
Wow. That's exciting. I hope there's I got to check around here because I would love to plink some dollars his way. Seriously. The movie sounds really cool. I mean, with the title like Unhinged, it's just speaking to me.
Yeah, it's called Unhinged, and I got to tell you, it's not a veiled title either. It is literally that. He plays a man apparently on the edge and takes road rage to level 11 in this thing. I mean, this is a gritty, menacing type of film, actually. And he's pretty good in the role. I mean, he's fitting in this where a single mother basically just sets him off at a traffic light. And it's really kind of cool the way they set it up where he's like, at one point pretty calm about it. He's like, hey, you just do like, a little courtesy tap, that's all you got to do. And she's still getting kind of pissy with him and stuff. Well, then, boom, flip the switch, gone. He's unhinged literally for the rest of the movie. Wow. And it's pretty cool to see an actual movie again, as opposed to, stuff on streaming and whatnot. But, I was kind of geeking out the whole time. I actually was more interested in talking to the producer and director than I was Russell Crowe himself, because that's just where I'm at. My head's in the business side of things. I'm not a star whore. That's been my case or my problem for most of my life. No, it's just the thing is, it's like I'm not like overly impressed with celebrity. I think it's cool as hell talking to them and stuff, but I'm not like, oh my God, it's like royalty. I can't even breathe. It's really, one, I don't regard them that way, and two, I don't see me. I just can't have the kind of questions that every other movie writer has. Where it's like, what were your motivation for this? Where did you tap into? Like, how did you find the basis of this character? And shut the hell up.
Everybody asks that. Everybody asks that. It's almost every single actor out there has those answers already prepped because they know they're going to be asked. So.
No, and it was kind of funny too because one of the other writers from one of the outlets there too. It's like, so did you were you tapping into like the stress from the COVID and did you use that as motivation? And he's like almost politely chuckling. He's like, look, we shot this last summer. Don't kid it, dumbass. Where are you coming from?
That is pretty funny.
But I mean, he was pretty cool too, because there was like one of the other writers too was like, "Hey, Mr. Crow, I just want to say," blah, blah. And he's going through this lengthy monologue of, thanking my establishment of this, and I've studied your movie, and he's like, "Hey, dude, is there a question? Are you going to ask a question?" It's like, yeah, come on. And yeah, that's just not me. So, I'm peppering the producer for, what their release schedule is and how did they orchestrate it with theaters that aren't open, and found out they've already released in Europe. And I said, okay, so are you using that as a platform to kind of force American theaters? And he's like, it's exactly what we're doing. And all of a sudden he like snapped and opened up, and he's giving me all these details about their marketing. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like furiously taking notes, and people are like, you can see him on the Zoom chat. They're like looking back and forth like, what's going on, man? They're not talking about celebrities. What's happening here? but had a blast.
It's one thing to like talk to the main actor of the film, but there's more to that. I mean, there are the technical aspects of the film, the marketing aspects, the minutiae that a lot of people love to hear about, but they seldom do when, you're asking them, what's your motivation? And, who did you look to do this role, and all this stuff. But most of us really don't care what the motivation is. We understand what acting is. We get that. I'm sure he's motivated by something. And I understand this to be that he did not like the character, so he used that anger as the basis for his character. So
I thought that was kind of funny too, because like one of the things, he was peeling back the curtain a little bit, and we kind of probed him in this regard, because he said, yeah, right now it's like, I'm sitting at home. I can't go to sets. We can't, we're not shooting as much. So my desk is like loaded with scripts, and I'm just pouring through them because everybody's sending me crap they normally wouldn't. And he said, yeah, I like read the script. He said the script wasn't bad, but I just didn't like the guy. Just didn't like him. And then he like threw the script on the side. But he said then like later in the day, I'm still thinking about it. This thing bothered me.
Yeah,
he's
got
like,
on skin.
And he said it was like still pinging on his radar in the background. Then he's had a conversation with the director after the fact, and he said that's what motivated me. He's like, I'm talking to Derek about this, and then I saw where he wanted to go with it. I was like, yeah, okay, all right, now I understand. And then he said, yeah, you want my motivation for this? I don't like this character. I was pissed off at him. So he's mad at the character he's playing, and he's using that anger to play the character. I'm cracking up, and everybody's like, why is that funny? I was like, wait, his motivation is the character itself. Come on, that's hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's really funny because that is something that's an answer you don't expect. You really don't. I just think it's funny. To me, there's like two types of actors. There's the one, what I call the Daniel Day-Lewis phenomenon. I mean, the man obviously prefers to make
heavy method.
Yeah, the heavy method. The script has to get under his skin before he even comes and considers doing the film. He does the film, wins an Academy Award, goes back to making shoes, right? I mean, that's the method. And that's kind of like Russell Crowe as well. He's like very heavy into the method. And then there's the other one.
Actually, I have to say, I don't think so. Like, I don't think he's one of these people that like has to be the character on set and all that stuff. He strikes me as somebody that can turn the switch on and off.
Yeah, but the character that has to get under his skin in order for him to do this movie. You know what I mean? It has to be in him. So that's kind of what I mean. And then there's what I call the Michael Caine one, which is like, hey, I'm being paid to do this film, so let's make the film, right?
Right. I'm here. Where's my script? Okay.
And I admire that. They see it as a job to entertain people, and they take it seriously enough that they do a really good job at it, and everything. But those are the two types, and I think Russell Crowe falls onto the Daniel Day-Lewis category more than the Michael Caine category for me. But I
mean, I would probably peg him in between, only because like Daniel Day-Lewis strikes me as the kind of guy you can't talk to. you know, because he's like that immersed in my craft and all that. No, Russell Crowe is like, he's in a band, he's doing other crap, you know, he's doing stuff, and he's, you know, when it comes time to act, yeah, okay, I'll act, but
I don't want to talk to Daniel Day-Lewis either. No. I just want to look at him.
Even somebody else mentioned to Russell Crowe, he's like, you know, you're how did they put it? They were trying to be as genteel as possible. They were saying, yeah, you appeared a little bit lush on screen.
Lush.
Because I mean, he's looking, you know, big and burly. He's like, yeah, you know what? He's like, yeah, I'm big. All right, I'm also 56. I just got done playing. You know, he was in the movie that the miniseries where they did Fox News, and he was Roger Ailes. So he said, yeah, I had to bulk up for it. He's like, you know what? I'm 56. You can't shed this crap like I used to when I was in my 30s. So he said, yeah, I stated I'm a bear. and that was him. He was like, there was no airs about him. He wasn't, you know.
I'll be honest. I saw the picture and I just wanted him to like trim his beard and his hair and he'd be fine. His beard was looking a little scraggly. It was getting on my nerves.
Yeah, true. But I mean, you know, this is a guy that he also said he's been, you know, sitting in his house in the bush in Australia for months at a time, so he doesn't give an F. He's like, yeah, I'm so sick of these Zoom meetings. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Just like cracking up. But one of the funnier things, the cooler things, actually, when I was talking to the producer, they were telling me, you know, some of the stuff they're doing during shooting and what they have to do a lot of these days because of the COVID, you know, in these trying times, is they do a lot of digital background shooting. So, you know, they'll do like a principal photography on an individual on a green screen, and then they, you know, insert the backgrounds digitally if they have to. He said, you know, because of this, they're taking raw footage now and using it. He said, this technology has advanced 3 to 4 years forward in just the last couple of months out of necessity. And he said, it's kind of awesome to watch because you're seeing the industry just like, it's not even evolving, it's developing right before you. And it's kind of cool to hear what's happening as a result of COVID behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So that, you know, that's where my mind went. I wasn't, you know, oh my God, I'm talking around. I was like, yeah, so what else are you guys doing? I mean, you know, you're shooting here. It's like, well, you know, they're opening up shooting. We're going to go to London and they got sound stages open there. We can't shoot in America because of these pissy people. You know, and Russell jumps in and says, yeah, come out to Australia. We've been shooting here for a month already.
Oh, man, how cool.
It was almost like, you know, sitting at a bar and listening to people talk shop. And it was like, that's where I was at. I wasn't like starstruck. I was like, yeah, give me the inside shit. That's what I want. So, yeah, I had an absolute blast. It was hilarious. Learned a lot inside of about an hour. And I'm excited that movies are coming back to theaters, actually.
Me too. I cannot wait. Honest to God, I cannot wait. It has been... And I'm a homebody. I seldom go to the movies unless it's like something really hokey that I need to watch, ergo Godzilla. But, you know, just having it taken away from me made me upset because I had the option at the time. If I wanted to go see a movie, I could go. Now they tell me, no, you can't go. So now, of course, is when I want to go. So
it's kind of funny too. I miss it. I've got... You know, it's one of the chains. I got like a 4 or 5 screen theater just a mile or two away, usually where I go. And they're almost to the point, they were getting to the point of knowing me as that guy. Like they don't even have a box office anymore. You walk into the concession stand, buy a ticket, and get this thing. You know, I usually order the ticket for the movie nobody's watching.
Yes.
Because that's my taste, of course. I have to go watch the Shrek and the garbage. And I remember watching Hurricane Heist. The weekend Hurricane Heist came out, I went and watched. I mean, this was on my calendar for months, and I go in there. I was like, "Yep, boom, Hurricane Heist, please." And the guy looks at me for a second. He's like, "Are you sure?" That was the reaction. I was like, "Yeah." He's like,
Let's see. I think it was a group of 3 of us went to see Godzilla, King of the Monsters, right? And we're buying the tickets, and then they looked at us like, "You want to see that movie?" I'm like, "Your business is to sell me the tickets, not to criticize my taste in movies, okay?"
I mean,
we were the only ones in the theater. It was great.
Come on, forgot. Yeah, well, it wasn't that bad, but yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I mean the 2000, the one before it did pretty great business, but this one did not. But yeah, usually I see those kind of movies like Cats. I saw that. I'm in a theater by myself. It's like a private screening. It's kind of cool. Like I've got a number of movies. I've gone to the front row and just taken a picture of the theater. It's like, this is me at the theater, and I'm nothing but empty seats and Brad.
I still can't believe that you actually went to see Cats. I mean, that took guts. Cat guts.
So that is. Here's the thing, like.
As we segue.
Oh, it's a perfect one too. I mean, kudos, by the way. Your pina colada's working wonders tonight. Love it.
I know. I should have them more often.
Like the Razzie Awards. God, I hate those sons of bitches for the most part. I mean, they've turned political. They've turned stupid. You're supposed to be honoring bad cinema, and they're not. They actually got a lot right this year, and it's a weird feeling where I want to hate them. And it's like, okay, I like your, and like Cats swept. Cats sucked. Okay, that movie is ghastly, and I love it to death for it. So I can't recommend that movie enough. And if you're watching, you're like, what the hell is he talking? Yeah, that movie is just.
I'm just gonna wait for the butthole cut. That's what I'm waiting.
I'm thinking that's a rumor. I think it's something. Somebody put that out there as like just to goad us, just to get us, like, yes, there's got to be a butthole cut. And if people don't know what we're talking about, maybe DM me somewhere down the line. I'll explain it to you. It's probably not genteel enough for open conversation, but yeah. Cats was a fiasco of a film, and God, I love it for it. But Andrew Lloyd Webber did not like the movie. Amazingly enough.
I'm not surprised.
You're not? He created this fiasco.
Well, but it's really tough to translate something that's on Broadway onto the screen, and vice versa. In some cases, it really, really does well, like The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. But in some cases, it does not. Whoa.
Okay, Aggie, I got to stop you here. You're going to talk about Broadway translations to the cinema, and you're not going to mention West Side Story?
You know what? Oh my God, I'm censoring myself right now.
That was racist, or you were saying that you can't bring that up just because she's Puerto Rican. That's not right, Brad.
No, I'm actually very disappointed in what they're doing with the whole reboot of the film. It's.
Oh, are you? Why?
Well,
are they going woke?
I'm kind of happy that Rita Moreno is going to be in it because she was amazing. And to me, she's one of the most amazing actors that I've ever seen on screen. But her character, she's going to be playing the wife of Doc, who was the grocer or soda fountain guy, the pharmacy person in the original film. And so that character has been replaced with the wife instead of, and in my opinion, I think it would have been better had she played the mother rather than the wife of Doc. And I can already see that they're messing it up. And I cannot talk about this because I feel my blood pressure rising right now.
I can probably calm your nerves a little bit by saying this. Who's gonna play the Joe Namath character? Because he was on the Jets, you see. Boom. Thank you. Drop safely. Trying to fish, folks. I'm telling you, tonight it's the thing to do.
Good job. Yes. Well, somebody's got to be from the San Jose Sharks too.
They weren't in existence until the 80s. Yeah.
Look, give me this, Brad. Okay. I can actually use a sports franchise.
I mean, if you can come up with a sequel to DVD that has the San Jose Sharks and the New York Jets somehow involved, I'm there. I mean,
that would be pretty epic. I
think the only bastardization that's been committed to film worse so far was the John Bon Jovi hockey movie called Pucked.
Get out.
This exists.
Oh my God.
He's a hockey team owner with female hockey players, and I've watched this movie I think twice, and there's zero retention to the plot. Like I try to recall this movie at times, and it's just like evades me. It's just that empty of content.
Wow. It makes me long for the days of Jim Carter.
God,
anyway, but as we were saying,
that's
about Andrew
we have episodes
Weber.
I could talk about Jim Carter. Don't get me started on that one. Come on.
Anyway, so as we were talking about Andrew Lloyd Webber being Braveheart, I guess, and
well, he's managed to channel his anger, I guess, from the movie of his stage production, and has submitted himself to the COVID vaccine. He's going to be a guinea pig, as it were.
I honestly think he took. I mean, the man is what, 90 something, I think.
I have absolutely no clue.
He's pretty up in age, and I would imagine that he took it just to be put out of the misery that is cats. I don't know. I mean, it could be.
I think his Botox is like 5 years. That's all I can probably pin down.
Oof. Okay. Yeah. Pretty bad.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, he's looking pretty aged.
Plastic?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go there, but yes.
It's kind of weird that, like, in real life, he's got that same uncanny valley effect you get from animation, almost like the characters in the movie that he hates. It's like, wow, I can't believe you have this much animosity as you're replicating them. But okay, I digress. But yeah, he's actually submitting himself to the COVID vaccine experimental phase because he's desperate to get a cure so that the stage in Broadway in London can reopen up. He's being self-sacrificial here, supposedly.
That sounds interesting. We'll just have to wait and see.
I was gonna say there's some dead air. It's like, wait, what? You weren't impressed with that, huh? Yeah, he's actually doing this. He wants to help find the cure, I guess, like to promote the cure so that they can get back to having live stage productions in London's West End and Broadway.
I imagine that it has taken a toll on the musical industry out there. The whole
undoubtedly. Yeah, absolutely has. I mean, in New York especially, you're not allowed to do anything in the city of New York outside of protesting. So they're definitely hurting. London as well, and funny enough, the stage production of Hamilton, that massively popular play, that moved over to Disney Plus, and they had all the woke people trying to cancel it. They were, because of racism, and we have to cancel everything these days. Turned out to be the biggest streaming product on Disney Plus now. So your outrage police were kind of neutered there. It didn't quite work out like you wanted, though.
This is human nature. When you tell a group of people, if you tell anybody, you cannot do this, they will go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at pretty much like we were discussing. I have political colada right now because I actually was told to boycott Goya, so I got in my car, drove 10 miles out of my way to buy it.
There you go.
You are not going to tell me what I can and cannot do. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you start canceling something like Hamilton, and you know how I feel about Lin-Manuel Miranda. I cannot stand the guy, and I happen to think he should just... I'm going to censor myself right now because I don't want anybody to get upset at me, but I know that he's very talented, and he did put out a beautiful musical.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I love Moana.
But when you that one too. But when you tell me that you're going to start canceling it, fuck no. I'm going to watch it now. You told me I couldn't, ergo I will. This is me. That's how I act, and that's how most people will act. And it's just human nature. So I am not surprised how it did so well streaming on Disney Plus.
Now, what you just described is the American spirit right there.
Yes, it is. It is the American spirit.
I mean, I loved. Did you see that? With all of this lockdown and all of this, you can't do this. You can't go anywhere. You're not allowed to do anything. Over at Sturgis, South Dakota, the bikers showed up.
Yes.
And not like a couple hundred either. They were measuring it to the hundreds of thousands. So it's like you're just like, yeah, you guys sit on your couches over there.
That was like eagle screeching great,
And like the journalist reaction, I loved. They were just, oh my God, it's going to be a super spreader. It's like, shut the hell up.
Oh, that's
pretty much the reaction.
That's going to be a super spreader. But the hundreds of thousands that have been marching and protesting and looting and God knows what else, that won't spread COVID.
Yeah, they pretty much have a circle jerk taking place every single night in the streets of Portland, and that's not a concern though. We're not worried about that. Oh no, not at all.
It's beyond. I mean, right now, Greg Abbott came out today and he actually did something that I am kind of like totally in favor. He actually came up with a plan that says in the state of Texas, any city that defunds the police will have their property tax revenue capped at the current levels. And the reason for that is that you cannot cut law enforcement and then turn around and increase taxes on the resident that you just put in danger because you cut the police. So the screeching has been off the fucking charts. It has been, every single liberal has been out there.
So it's okay to defund the police, but you can't defund the people that defunded the police because that's out of control somehow.
Yeah, and what I found interesting, and Jen may know more than I do because she lives in that area. In Austin, the city defunded the Austin Police Department, and the Texas Army National Guard has actually stepped up and having to protect the citizens, the people of Austin. I can't even talk anymore. So, and I think this is a result. And of course, they're mad at him because he hasn't done anything about COVID. And I'm going, he's actually done a lot of things that I did not agree with because they were with federal guidelines, as we, with the whole COVID situation. So you can't say that he hasn't done anything. And it has been pretty interesting. But
no, it's been frustrating for me because here in Florida, Ron DeSantis has been in the crosshairs of the media for some damn reason. Probably because he's been successful. What a son of a bitch. Because they always want to rail him for decisions made and opening things up too early, yada, yada. Meanwhile, their butt boy that they love to death over there in New York, Andrew Cuomo, they can't praise this guy enough. At one point, they had 10 times the death rate of Florida while criticizing Ron DeSantis.
Oh, my God.
Meanwhile, Florida, with a larger population of people, was managing things much better. And, yeah, it just kills me. It got so bad that there was something was revealed in New York that some other thing that they screwed up royally. I think it was they found out that they were massively underreporting the nursing home deaths because if they took people out of a nursing home and brought them to a hospital and they ended up dying at the hospital, that was not a nursing home death. Even though they contracted and had the worst symptoms while in the nursing home, they were counted as like a hospital death somehow. And yeah, so this news came out and somebody had the adroit synopsis of it is like, wow, that's horrible news out of New York. How are we going to blame Ron DeSantis for this? It's just, that's how the press is operating.
And this is the issue that's been going on here in Texas. There's been a surge of COVID down in the southernmost counties. Well, that's where most of the nationals from Mexico come through.
I was going to say, isn't that near the border?
That is the border. You have Starr, Willacy, Cameron, and Hidalgo counties, and those are the 4 with the largest incidence of COVID right now. And of course, they're all screeching, you and Ted Cruz won't do anything. I'm going, but this is that entire area. I don't think there's a single Republican in office in those 4 counties.
I was going to say that's Beto O'Rourke's territory.
In any position, and it is just, and I'm like, but this is the governor's fault, who has given you money to spend on this stuff. Okay, got it. It's ridiculous. There was a nurse was leaking pictures that she took of the ER, and it was overrun and crowded, and everybody had COVID and all this stuff and everything. What she failed to disclose was that a lot of the people there, that's where they go. That's where the Mexican nationals go for healthcare, and that those hospitals have to take them. It's the law.
Sure.
And but she wasn't disclosing that at all. She just made it sound like it was a citizenship of that entire town.
Well, that's what you call nuance, and we're not allowed to include that in our reports when we're trying to lay the blame on other people. That's the way it works.
Yeah, and I feel, my heart was just crying to see those people in such distress and everything. But, she was trying to politicize that situation. And she was trying to, the gal that was actually tweeting this stuff out said that she was getting it from a friend of hers who happens to know a nurse in that area. And the nurse was sending them. And they have to protect the identity of the nurse, because otherwise she would get fired. And I'm like, in a hospital that overrun and everything, I would think that nurses would pray to get fired just so that they could rest. I mean, it's that bad.
Exactly. Yeah, do me the favor. Send me home.
So I was like, well, anyway, so we are at the end of our hour.
But I still have content. I'm kidding. Well, we do. That's the way I operate. I always bring more than we have time for. So
I know. I should just shut up and let you talk, and I'll just be the letter turning person.
God, that would be so wonderful if you could do that next episode, please.
I'll dress in an evening gown.
Just go over there and tap the letters, would you? I'm busy over here.
I'll tap the letters. I'm old-fashioned. I want to turn them. Okay. All right. So where can we find you?
Oh, hell, everywhere you want to look. I'm over at Town Hall. I'm over at Red State. I'm also here on Thursday evenings. And this week, tentatively, it's going to be a big episode. I actually have a massive Hollywood producer might be willing to come on the show and speak to me and Paul for Disasters in the Making at 8 p.m. Other than that, if you need to see me on a daily basis, head over to Twitter. I'm at Martini Shark.
And you can find me at Twitter at Aggie Rican and at Aggie the Barkeep. That's the cocktail account. And you can find me here Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, either doing a Pod Divided with my wonderful co-host Brad, or doing He Said, She Said with my other wonderful co-host Nikki Blowtorch. And you can find me with our great producer Lou and Head in a Jar Fridays at 8:30 p.m. right here on KLRN Radio. Good night, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.
Good evening.